Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the final paint party live stream of 2021. It's episode 49, so we almost got to 50 episodes this year, even with all the craziness. But I am so glad that you have joined me. It's so good to have you, and I hope that this past week has been one of relaxation, one of joy and happiness, time with family, I hope, and that you have stayed well and healthy. I know it's difficult these days, as of course, that illness that shall not be named is going all across the country, but I truly hope that you enjoyed the week and had some time to just be reflective as well as relax. And I hope that the holiday was gentle to you. So we are heading into the new year. As I said, this is the last episode of the year. This morning I posted a vlog, so if you're interested in following kind of my life here, you can check that out also on the YouTube channel. This week I took you on along with me as I was doing some candy making, and then also on a tour kind of around town to see some of the Christmas lights here in rural South Dakota. One of the advantages of living in a small town is kind of that small town, middle America, Americana charm, and this town has that in spades. So that is this week's video on the vlog. If you want to check that out, it is live as well. Going into next year, I mentioned over the last couple of live streams that I really want to focus my energy in developing my art skills. So I'm going to take it a little bit out of YouTube tutorials only and kind of drill down on some of the things that I want to explore, some of the things that I want to refine. So that is going to be exciting this year, and you, of course, will be along for the entire journey. So I don't know exactly how that's going to be laid out or strategically how I'm going to do that, but that is something I want to focus on this year. So I'm excited to have you join me for that, and we'll keep you posted as we go along. The other thing I want to do is kind of narrow down the vlogs that I've been doing. Up until now, it's been kind of, the move to South Dakota and getting settled here and different things, but I want to also bring more of my paint experiences into the vlogs so that it's more unified on the channel. We of course have the live streams, but I want my everyday life to bring in some of the things I'm doing in the studio, as well as the everyday things I'm doing as well, but want to be a little more focused on that. Also want to continue to push the live streams forward, and not sure exactly how to do that, but I want to be refining those as we go to make it more interesting for you all as well. So let's jump in this evening. Today, over the last few weeks, we have done holiday Christmas themed paintings. So today I want to do, actually, since Christmas has technically passed, I want to do a winter scene. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but painting snow is difficult for me. I haven't done a lot of it, and so it's a challenge to get it right, but I found a reference photo which I will put up here on the screen so you can kind of see what we're going to work on. I thought it was just absolutely beautiful the way the light comes through the trees in this little mountain stream, and so I thought, hey, let's give this a try this evening. So that's what we're going to be working on. All right. Again, thanks for those of you that have joined us. Lola, it's so good to see you as always. Those of you that are joining, wherever you are, you can pop in, pop out. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, the live stream is kind of open house. You just come in and pop out, stay as long as you can or as long as you would like. And so glad to have you joining me for the painting this evening. Also, wherever you're watching, you can comment and we kind of have a conversation as we go. I try to share kind of my thought process as I approach these paintings and what I am trying to accomplish with it. So let's go ahead and get started, but feel free to chime in at any point. Okay, so I have just a vertical canvas panel So it's a little bit larger. I think this is maybe 10 by 14. I can't remember. It doesn't say on them. So, but it's a little bit larger. So we will jump in and get this. I'll bring you right up here to the canvas so that you can see what I am doing. Let me bring my seat over here and we will jump right in. I think I did not, obviously, I did not tone this canvas before I got started. So it is, we will just jump right in. So sorry I'm wobbling this so much, but I think what we will do is put our largest kind of forms or whoops, I keep bumping this with my legs, so I apologize. The camera will settle here. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we'll start with just kind of getting some rough a rough framework in. So let me kind of use some brown. I'm going to do and some white, as we always do. This is just our burnt umber and some white that will help us to kind of draw in the basic composition. This photo is from the Facebook group that I belong to, Reference Photo for Artists. And it is not, it's composed great, or well, but I want to see, it obviously has more, the canvas is a little bit taller than the picture is, so we're going to have more sky. And so I want to kind of build the composition as we go. So let's jump in. And I think I'm going to, last time I moved the water over here, that way I'm not reaching across. Okay, so let's kind of jump in and let's put our first kind of, let's put the sky, and we'll put our trees in there. These are our trees, this is our sky. That's kind of where we're going to put the landscape, or the, not the landscape, the horizon. So we'll have more sky, and then we can kind of bring our, I think I want to try to see if we can actually bring our, can we bring our water kind of from back here? So we'll kind of change this a little bit just to give it some interest and to bring the water from the back to the front, and to also bring the viewer into the painting more. We'll just kind of give us some idea here where, so it kind of runs off the canvas, and I'm just putting in all of this really dark with the brown just to give the feel of where this creek might run. We got a little bit of snow here in the hills the last couple of days. Before Christmas, it was beautiful, almost 40, like 45, 50 degrees, almost 50 degrees this last week. And then we're heading in tomorrow into a solar, or a polar plunge. So we're actually it's going to get really cold here tonight, into the teens and single digits, negative Fahrenheit. So, but we did get an inch or two of snow on Christmas, and then today as well. And I almost drove through the canyon and took some pictures because it would have been beautiful, but it was already starting to get colder, and so I decided not to. All right. So now I've diffused this brown with some white. So let's go in and kind of put in some shadows to suggest the shadows on the snow. Let's see if we can get some of this value-wise correct. Again, we're just using basically one color, which is this burnt umber. So when we get kind of if we get our values right, then it'll start to read, and we'll do a little bit. So I think also when I come over here, this is going to be flatter than in the so it's going to be more like a meadow than in the reference photo. So let's just kind of put that in there instead of like an actual ravine. But let's go and put in, then back in here, we want to do some darker shadows. Just suggest some variation in the contour of the ground. And I think with the up here, we want to do, let's give the suggestion of some, even though they're in the distance, let's give it some suggestion of maybe some evergreens here. Up into the sky, even though they're kind of hidden, and we'll make them more pronounced over here. There, that's where our trees are going to be. Kind of live up over there. Okay. Then we're going to have really, coming out of here, we're going to do some hills that are far in the distance. So we're going to just kind of give them a really light. Then we're going to use that same tone to give some highlights to this mountain where the snow maybe is reflecting the light a little bit. Again, we'll just kind of build this. One of the things I want to do is get away from just copying the reference photo And so I want to be a little more creative. Okay, we are getting there. We're about 20 minutes in, and we have a rough sketch of kind of what we want this to look like. Okay, so that's basically that's the rough idea of where we want to go with this. Anything you all see that I should do differently or that you think would be, and I'm talking purely composition wise, like how the scene is laid out. Anything you think that would make it more striking, more interesting? What are your thoughts? Anything, feel free to jump in and tell me what you think. Pretty silent tonight. I know we have fewer people. I think the last couple of times it's been fewer people on the live stream just because probably everybody's busy with family and other things going on and busy kind of finishing up holidays. I know some people were still having some celebration. I am losing my connection to my my reference. So let me go back over here. There it is. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. I like the way you have it. Oh, thanks. Okay. So that is, you guys are pretty close, but if we back it up, that's basically the composition we're going to have. I think by emphasizing the trees over here, de-emphasizing the trees over here, and just making that the bank, and then putting kind of a meadow bank as opposed to a strong bank, I think it strengthens the composition as well. Also putting the stream starting way in the back and kind of winding into the foreground instead of just coming straight across, I think that will strengthen it a little bit also. So that is the intent at this time. So I'm going to stand up because I just feel like standing up. So now what I want to do is go and put in some sky. And I learned something new about painting skies today, or over the last few days. So there is a gradient of the sky as you get closer to the horizon because you're looking through more of the atmosphere of the Earth. The sky is lighter and less saturated closer to the Earth, and the higher it gets, the more intense the color gets and more saturated the color gets. But there's also a gradient that goes across the sky from the light source. So if the sun is on this side, the sky will be lighter over here than it is. So this far corner should be the darkest, most intense blue. Now this is a daytime shot, not like a sunset or sunrise. So it's not as critical, but it's something to keep in mind. And in the reference photo, you can see a little bit like it's lighter down here than it is in the at the very top of the sky, and that is because it is that is purely because it is closer to the Earth and looking through the horizon more. So what I want to do is start putting some of this blue on, and I want to get pretty, we can emphasize this. I want to start over here with my most saturated, and as I come across, it will naturally get lighter just because it's, because it is the sky. And as the paint is left off of the canvas, or off the brush, it will get lighter. So let's do that. Now I notice the light is glaring. Maybe I can, nope. Maybe I can do that to give you, oh, that doesn't really work. I need a light. I need to really, someday I'll have a studio that is really bright. We'll be able to do light above and behind me that will be lighter. Okay, I'm mixing a little bit and then just coming up a little bit lighter. It's not a whole lot, can't tell. We'll probably have to do 2 or 3 layers of this anyway, but I just want to get it on there, get it started. Let me fuse this some more. And then in a minute, I'll try to now I'm not really concerned about like keeping this, I'm painting over these mountains a little bit because the blue is relatively opaque and it is just fine. I can still see the mountain line, and we're going to come over and put that on anyway. I mean, we're going to change it. So I just kind of want to get started. Let me put some white down here close to the horizon just to lighten that. And you can't really tell because of the glare of the lights, but we'll just kind of lighten this up a little bit so that there is a clear distinction between the sky above and the sky closer to the Earth. Okay, now what I want to do, let me turn this off so you can kind of take a look. So you can kind of see how this is lighter and this is more saturated, and it's really subtle, but it's just these little things we can play with that indicate to the viewer, even if they're unconscious of it, that there is something, it's just a little more nuanced, a little more detailed. So now what I want to do is take a little bit, I'm going to try something I'm not sure of. Let me see. I'm going to try blue. This same blue that we see is down in the shadows here, but it's almost got a green tint to it. So I'm introducing just a very little bit of green to this, just to take a little bit of the blue out, maybe a little bit of the brown, because the brown is technically a red, and the green will diffuse the red, and the red will diffuse the green because they're opposite on the color wheel. So we have down on, notice the difference now between this blue and this blue that I've mixed. It's kind of a true blue, cerulean blue, and then kind of a greenish brownish blue. So Hi there, Bob G. So good to see you. So I want to come in and put some of this color in on the hill here to indicate the snow. So we're gonna, this should be the shadow, so it will indicate the shadow of the, and we'll just put a little bit up here where our shadows are. Now we'll have to adjust this. As we go, but let's see. Blue, blue, a little green. So that's a fun experiment. A little green, a little brown, a little blue, diffuses it, and that's what gives us, hopefully, will indicate this is snow, but it's back in the shadows. So we want to start, I just want to cover the canvas. We'll have to come back and redo, and we'll highlight and all of that jazz. But this will give us, again, I'm with a broad, probably 1-inch flat brush, so there's just, I'm really holding myself off. There's no detail happening yet, just to give us kind of a feeling of where this is going to be. Now, I want to take the blue, and actually what I want to do is take the blue, darken it significantly, but I want to add a significant amount of brown so that it is almost like a deep, muddy purple blue. Lighten it just a tad. Because as we go back in the mountains, on these hills, the shadows are going to, we're going to lose some of that blue color, because that's going to be, and as it comes forward, some of the blue is lost. So that's what we're doing here. Just putting in some shadows. The brighter blue, the closer it gets to you, is more saturated because our eye detects it more. So it's kind of a more of the dark blue back there. And we'll decide what we want those mountains to be as they come forward. Yeah, we'll see. But this allows us to kind of carve out our where we want. Now we want to go really dark now. And this is where I'm really kind of straying from our reference, because I want to begin to put the shadows along this bank where the shoreline's going to be. I want to begin to draw that in so that we can kind of see where the overhang of this is going to be. Okay. There, now we start to see what's happening. And since we're blue, let's now take the brown of this trees into kind of blue land. So we'll, actually I'm going to put a little raw umber over here on the palette, because that will take us even darker. We'll take a little blue-green. Okay. That way we start to get some variation. All right. And I'm almost to the end of my ultramarine blue, but I think there might be a little bit left in this tube. Let's see. Is there any? Nope, it's gone. All right, next. Let me see if I've opened this. Nope, I haven't. So pardon me a moment. I'm taking foil off the end of the new tube of paint. I try to do those ahead of time, but we just kind of have to go with the flow. All right, so I'm taking this as, more dark. So, well, our farthest shadows in here. And we'll work on that. Okay. Now, we have kind of almost like it was a monochrome photo or monochrome, but now we're starting to get a little more, roughly our values are staying the same, but our, slowly they're starting to get more refined. So like we do, we will just raise them little by little. So now that we have this rough end, the only thing that's not is here. So I want to go in and take the darkest point. I'm going to clean my brush because we're going to have, even though this is in shadow over here, there it is still lighter. The light is reflecting because the light is more direct there. So you can see as you go back in the reference photo, it's lighter. There's a reflection, so you're seeing more of the sky reflected. But what we want to do is get a deep dark. So I'm taking ultramarine blue and raw umber. Oops, I got some white in there. I don't want white. Eek. Raw umber to get a really dark color, and raw umber, ultramarine blue. Oh, I think I put too much umber in, but that's okay. We can, it's the bottom of the river. So what we want to do is come in here and put in our river. It's dark, pretty dark. This is going to be our, and we'll then, once we have kind of the foundation laid, then we can come back and put in highlights and such. So we want the kind of this foundation of this deep dark color in here. Okay, I kind of like how that is, because this it already, just by putting in this dark, look at how all of a sudden it's suggesting all of this is just open canvas, and this is just the underpainting, and it's already suggesting that the light is coming down over there, isn't it? So by being very thoughtful about where we're putting our shadows, all of a sudden we can test our light. So I'm going to come in over here, put in shadow, because I want it to kind of disappear back there. And there's light back in here. Okay. All right, let's turn that off. See, now you can see kind of what I'm looking at. Now, let's lighten this just a tad. Take in a little of the brown, because again, we're reflecting the sky. Let's see if we can get something interesting. I'm just going to try something. What if we put a reflection over here of the sky? All right, so we're just taking the diffused blue and we have a few areas that are more where the sky is reflected more than others. So we'll just make that. Look at that. Isn't that cool? All right, now if we take this light blue, look on the blue how it looks, even though here it's light, back here, because of what's around it, it looks like shadow. So we can start kind of drawing our shadows in. And give our hillside some contrast. I'm lightening it up because over here we want the opposite. We want more sunlight in here. So that gives us some. Now we'll put some sunlight back in here. There we go. All of a sudden we're starting to see the suggestion. And this is how you can build up a painting to begin to kind of give it some sense of where the shadows and highlights are. And if you don't like something, you can always paint it back over, right? And as we build on that, now we have kind of a framework to build on. So I want to take more of the rest of the white in there. I'm going to need more white. Now I'm going to try something again. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, just a very tiny bit of yellow. Put it in there. Very tiny bit, just the edge of my brush, and it already turned it kind of really bright. So we want to bring that down a little bit. If we put a little blue in, that'll cut some of the yellow. So let's bring a little blue. What I want to do is test something with these. I want to test here with the mountains in the background. I want to kind of make them more mountain, kind of more mountain-y, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's working. That's kind of doing what I want to do now. But what I think this want to, and I want to come back here. I want it clear that that's a different hill. But it's all kind of blending together. Let's see, if I turn off the light, you guys can maybe see. Nope, it's not quite, but we can refine it. So we'll take this even brighter. And it's going to look really white back in that. And I'm going almost completely from imagination right now. Like, how do I want, I'm veering pretty far from the reference photo. But just a few simple brush strokes. I'm just dabbing the brush again. I'm just using a 1-inch brush, but a few brush strokes are going to give us some form. Looks like the bots have found us again. Just a second. I may end up having to set up a for an admin or a moderator for my live streams, because apparently the bots like us. Let me see if I can go to the live video. There it is. I apologize, y'all, for the disruption, or the disruption and the interruption. Okay, let me go in here and hide user. Okay, we have hidden our bots. Now we'll see if they come back. All right, so what I was saying, you will see then here, whoops, what I'm trying to do with the suggesting the where the light is hitting. Now, since we have this and it's working for us, then we can go in and refine this. All right, so we have a pretty good little sketch. Don't you say? Don't you say? I do say. Okay. And I am remembering to take some photos as we go through. So I will have good okay. Now, let's look at what we want to do next. What should we focus on next, y'all? Maybe we should go back to the sky and do another layer in the sky, because I think if we do 2 layers of the sky, we'll be pretty good. It looks like it's covered fairly well. So if we do 1 more layer of the sky, I think that will be good. Let's do that. All right, we're going to start. That's probably too dark and too green. Y'all probably can't see that, but well, it gives us something to lighten up to. That's good. And it gives us something definite to contrast with when we get down here. Because again, we want our gradient going from right to left and from bottom to top. So then if we bring in just a little bit of white, we bring it way down here, then we start to get where we want to be. We'll just blend that in. Again, closer to the horizon is the lightest tones, and closest to the light source is the lightest. So we want to really lighten up. Over here as we come across and as we come up. And that'll give us a nice sky gradient. And by doing these random brush strokes across really light, because there's no clouds in this sky, this gives us the illusion of kind of variations of color in the sky. Let me try to see how that just the brush strokes makes it look like the sky is lighter here and then darker up above. So we'll just do really light strokes across. I wonder if we can go even lighter. Well, I know we can, but I don't want to ruin anything, but I do want that kind of more dramatic. I do want it a pretty dramatic sky to. There, I like that. See how light it gets down there? I think that's really good. We'll lighten this up a little bit because it's closer to the horizon. Again, the reason we do that is we're looking through more of the atmosphere as we get to the horizon than we are up above. So it's more, we're basically seeing more of outer space the higher we get, or our eye is perceiving it. And then when we are coming from the light source over, the lighter the sky is closer to the light source, and then it gets darker. So this, as we wanted, is the darkest corner of the sky, even though it's the middle of the day. Now, what may end up happening with the way we're doing our highlights, it may end up looking like it's a kind of dusk, which is just fine because this, when I look at the shadows of the reference photo, it looks like it may be like it's obviously winter, so the sun's not as high in the sky, but it looks like it could be, 2, 3 in the afternoon. Hi there, Rose. Thanks so much for popping in. I know it's a completely different time of day where you are, so I appreciate it. It's actually probably a completely different day. I believe you guys have already passed into tomorrow. But yes, it's amazing, Rose. What you're noticing is when the values are correct and the lights and shadows, like there's not much detail. I've only used this 1-inch brush and there's really no detail. If I put it up really close, you can see there's no detail. It's just broad, literally broad strokes, which is probably where that term comes from. You can even see the underpainting still, and yeah, it's just not, but it's amazing. You can start to see things come together when you get that correct. So, yep, that's the deal. That's what we're trying for. Okay, now let's go in and let's do another. I'm going to switch out my plates. I feel like we have a solid foundation, but I want to go, excuse me for all the noise, dropping things, and let me see if I can go in and do, I'll try to do it, see if we can do it without getting any paint in our, dry paint in our brush. I'm going to make that dark color again because I want to do another sweep of this water. Well, let's take some more brown into it. So y'all, I went on an adventure yesterday. As I'm mixing this, I'll tell you about my adventure. When I was robbed, of course, all of my belongings were taken, and that included my Christmas decorations. So I got, part of my settlement was, of course, for Christmas decorations. I did buy a tree, an artificial tree, but I did not want to spend a lot of money on Christmas decorations at full price. And so I decided to wait till after the holiday to buy some Christmas decor. So I went down the mountain yesterday to Rapid City, which is our closest little town, and hit up all the places. But I have ornaments for days. I got 2 garlands, artificial garlands, and 2 wreaths. And today I went and got storage containers for all this stuff. And so I am pretty happy as a clam that I am now ready for the holidays next year, and I paid a fraction of the price. I went to Michael's to get some art supplies, and they had their Christmas decor 70% off. So I was able to get just glass ball ornaments. Normally they were $9.99 for like 4 or 6 of them, and I was able to get them for about $3 a piece. And so, yeah, it was a success. I always like to feel like I got a good deal. So that's just me. Whoops. Okay. I just scraped all the way down to the undercoat. Okay. Now we got that. And last time we just lighten it up a little bit, bring in some of the red because we're reflecting some red. We want to come in here. I think we need some. Blue. Little bits of reflection will indicate light. So just change color. There. All right, I am enjoying how that is coming. So now I think what we need to do is start moving to a more detailed brush. So I'm going to set aside the 1-inch brush, and I'm also going to set aside my painting or my oops. take another progress photo ever so often. And I think we're gonna take, let's see, I got a new, I don't know if I want to go this small. The only filbert brush they had at the store was this one, which is maybe like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch. But I don't know if I want to do that yet. I think I want to go, oh, let's take a dagger brush. Let's see. We'll just see. I think what I want to do is go back to the trees up here because I've kind of painted them over. But now that I know I have the sky the way I pretty much want it, we can get serious with the trees. So let's bring some of this brown down here. Definitely have lots of blue, a little green. We want really dark colors. There's not going to be a whole lot of highlight. That far back. So we just want it really dark. Put a little more blue in there. It's almost a black color. And I think we do need a little more green. So let's see what we can do. Just because we want to be able to tell that it's not the same color as the, there. That will do, I think. Okay, let's see if we can take a little bit of this dagger brush and just see what we can do. Okay, that's way too much paint, but I think down here we want it just like very dark. So I'm just doing kind of X strokes almost to give us the feel of that these are trees and they're branches that go all different ways. Because I don't really know. We'll just put, like Bob Ross, we'll put happy little trees back in here. Don't really know how many there are in this little forest, but I do think there's one that kind of sticks up into the sky, and he's kind of a he's one that definitely stands out from the crowd, so to speak. Even though, okay, now that's good. We have some, let me turn this off so you can see. So we have some light shadows by doing just darker strokes already in the trees. And there's, again, if you get real close, there's no detail. It's just X strokes, but you already start to see the form. And then all we have to do is come in and do some detail work and some highlight work when we do come in. So let's actually put those trees in there that are we aren't sure. Not a lot of detail. but they kind of stick out to the side because they're so far in the distance. And then we'll come in and put maybe some trunks and other detail in a bit, but we do want a lot of we want some of the sky to show through here. There we go. I'm kind of happy with that, so I want to not belabor it too much. I don't want to do too much, but I did notice this tree is looking a little weird. Again, a lot of this is coming from my kind of imagination. So I'm wondering, now that I'm looking at this, now this is top heavy over here and the mountain doesn't come up high enough to really like work. So I'm wondering if a tree like right in here, like some like a aspen or birch tree would work. The thing is, if we make that decision, then all of a sudden that's a big decision to make, right? So you know what? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's try it. Let's try it. What do you guys think? Is a big tree like going through the middle of the painting gonna balance it out, or should we do like shorter? Because I don't want to do all the vegetation that's there because it kind of, to me, ruins the composition a little bit. But should I do leave it? Lola says leave it. So leave it. Lola, are you saying leave it as it is, like an open bank, not put any vegetation there or anything to balance it? Is that kind of what I'm hearing? It feels like there should be something that's in the near ground that draws because the curve of the river or the creek, like putting a curve in it kind of brings us into the painting, and then putting this, it draws our eye in, but it feels like there should be some anchor there to kind of pull us into the front part. I could just put, I could just put more, rocky detail there. No tree. Okay, Lola says no tree. Maybe a bit of vegetation. Okay, I'll take your advice. Instead of putting a tree, we'll do some vegetation. Maybe some like is on the reference photo where there's kind of some branches and stuff growing up out of the snow. Maybe we could take the vegetation that's over here and kind of put it over there. I don't know. This is where I'm having to, my imagination is stumping me a little bit, but I'm confident we'll get there. All right, we have about 40 minutes left, so let's refine this bad boy. All right, so what I think I want to do now is start getting real clear about, I'm not sure what part to work on. You know what? Let's work farthest away and come close. We did a little bit more refining of the tree. Let's refine this mountain and see if we can't get some definition on the mountain and see if we can make it interesting. Now I am kind of curious, so we'll take some white, we'll take a little tiny bit of yellow. Ooh, that's really yellow. It just doesn't take much, does it, folks? And then we'll take a little bit of brown just to diffuse that a little bit. We'll take the blue just to give us, that'll diffuse the blue as well, but it'll give us a warm glow. Hopefully that's what we're going for, a warm glow up on these mountains. So let's kind of bring them in and start doing some detail precision work. This will define the mountain between the mountain and the sky. So that's what we're trying to do. So we want to put the solid kind of line there of the mountain, what it's going to look like as it cascades down the hill. I don't know if a mountain can cascade down a hill, but as the profile of the mountain cascades down the hill, that's what we're going for. Then we'll put some shadow in there to give it contrast. And that's probably as much as we will need. Let's put some suggestion that there's mountain behind there. We may come and paint over that, but let's just kind of give the suggestion that this mountain there. Now, what I want to do is like define some highlights here with this warm kind of greenish blue color. Let me see if I can, there, that can help you see what we're doing better. It seems a little too I like it. Okay. Then we want to do the same kind of tone in here. Want to start shaping this shoreline with spaces that the sun hits. This is where it gets fun, I think. And the challenge is not to go overboard, because you can get highlight heavy. But the most highlighted area is going to be in here. Because we want the sun to appear like it's shining really bright in there. And as it gets closer, it's less bright, or, you know, not as. So there's a lot of sunlight right in here. We'll put like just suggestions of some rocks out in the water. Some snow back in there where the sun is catching the water in the background as it comes forward. Now we want to take this white or this color and bring it down quite a bit. So I want to do blue, some brown. I want to make it more, as we get in closer, we want our highlights not as precise or not as warm. We want them a little cooler. To indicate that we're still in the shadows, but there is light back down here. This is the part that I haven't done well with snow, but I'm really kind of pleased with how this is coming out. And I think it's because of the foundation we did at the beginning. Like, it's just kind of working. So that's exciting to learn, because then it's like, oh, I can do this again. It's like figuring out a code on a puzzle or something. Okay, so we have this. We'll do all kinds of, it's almost like trees or anything. We do different colors in here. It's looking good. Thanks. I appreciate it. And as we do more colors, and more layers, we get a little more interest. And I'm taking some of this blue even back into the background a little bit. I don't want to bring it too far forward, but it gives us a real feeling of depth, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Now I'm diffusing this a lot with brown, burnt sienna, and or burnt umber, and we'll do raw umber as we come forward, some of these areas, we want that kind of bluish hue, but we want the darker brownish kind of. And what's going to happen is that will also work with our painting because the blues and the browns are going to be complementary. So and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use this over here as the highlight over here. So this diffused brown is going to be the highlight to the, it's the low light over here, but it's the highlight over here, if that makes sense. And I think that's one of the coolest kind of tricks I've learned. One of the coolest is if you take a low light from one side and make it the highlight on the other, all of a sudden, number one, you have more cohesion in your painting, but you have also you have really interesting, you can make it look like, you know, it's very clear that this is a shadowed area. There's some trees or something over here that's shadowing it and casting a shadow over here. And we're not quite sure what's going on, but we know that it's in the shadows. And so it really helps to refine our then we can come across the top there and give our snow some breaks of light where the light's just cutting across. Yeah, I like how this is shaping up. You can sort of tell it's the same photo, but not really, right? it is just a reference. Okay. Now, okay, I have to be careful that all of this highlight doesn't bring us all the way forward. Okay. Bringing some more shadow back in. Now I'm working on the illusions. Hi, Aunt Susie. Thank you. Thank you. I'm working on the illusions of these rocks and maybe vegetation back in here. I don't have to get very specific here, but as we come forward, it needs to be a little more. I'll put some more detail on these rocks, but I wanted something for this snow to rest on as it comes down the side of this mountain. It's already starting to look really cool, isn't it? We just need to just just keep playing with the darks and the lights, colds and warm and cold tones. All of a sudden it comes together. Now it's really starting to look a lot different than the reference photo. It's clear. I think that's what I was missing, Lola. Earlier we were talking about adding vegetation, like bringing these rocks into the stream. It kind of makes it feel like this is actually just a rock slide or a rock field out here, and the water is kind of flowing over and around, and the snow is on top of the rocks. So, and I like that where it's lower. I think you were right. Don't put a tree in there. But I think putting these rocks, it's lower, but it's visual interest and it balances and it actually brings us into the painting. So I think we're ending up where I wanted to be anyway, but it's working. Yeah. So as always, you were right. And I'm so appreciative of your perspective and advice. Okay, back in here again. We want to create a blue kind of where it's reflecting the sky. Give it a little bit of that And we'll lighten it and put just a few highlights on. So that it's clear that the water is moving. Yeah, see, I just need to paint in the dark. It looks so much better for you guys when I'm painting in the dark. Now I'm just trying to do a variety of shades in the snow so that it looks as realistic as possible. I'm going back and forth between lights and darks. Just trying to really now give some detail. To this space. Now I think I want to really take some pretty light gray back in here and give us some real sunshine. Some deep, deep, really bright highlights. I really want to bring the sun into like it is in the reference photo. Oops. I really want to bring the sun forward there. So we'll lighten it up with some white and really try to carve some form some contrast here. I haven't been at my easel for several days because life just got busy and stuff. It feels so good. That's one thing I appreciate about this, even if I don't get to my easel pretty much all week. Having the live stream and y'all joining me really forces me to go back to the easel at least once a week. even during the most busy times. It's almost like being with this light, it's almost sculptural, like you're almost doing sculptural brush strokes to give an organic look to this thing. And then we take a little yellow, very, very little yellow, bring it in. That's what I learned from Kevin Hill with acrylics. You do, and probably I need to come back to this and do many, many layers, and that gives you really dynamic highlights, because that's what I really want. I want these highlights to really pop. As they dry, they get duller and duller, and so we need to constantly be refining and reworking, and it's always trying to save the brightest brights till the end. The one color I haven't played around with in this setting is kind of a purple. So let me put in some ultramarine blue which should give us a purple hue. See what that, because we have kind of, oh, that's interesting. What this does is it's helping to erase some of the more harsh lines in the snow. It's all an experiment, isn't it? Definitely gave us shadows. That's good to know. So the purple hue is a more natural shadow color. All right. As much fun as I'm having, it is about time for me to wrap this up. It's not near done, but we got a good start, didn't we? So now in the next week or so, I really need to start putting together a strategy for how I'm going to approach my development of my painting skills. if any of y'all have advice, would love to hear it. Feel free to let me know. But yeah, I want to start really refining my skill and improving my overall painting skills. So if you have any sort of perspective on that, would love to have that perspective. All right. You are not wrong, Bob G. The picture looks cold, but so is here. I just looked on my phone because I'm taking progress photos, and actually, I will show you what it says on my phone. Actually, the temperature raised 1 degree on my phone from the time I looked to the time I'm going to show you this. That is the current temperature in lead. And the real feel is 3 degrees. So it's 0, but it actually feels like 3 degrees. So we, I can't get the angle right. There we go. So the lack of humidity, I guess, is giving us a little bit of buffer, maybe. All right. This is about where we are going to call it quits for tonight, y'all. I appreciate you joining me. As always, thank you so much for the conversation, for hanging out. Again, I'm wishing you a very happy and prosperous new year. And I'm excited about where we are going to go in this journey together, what we are going to explore, and it'll be really cool to see where this second year, well, I've been about a year and a half painting, but second year of painting really takes us. I think it's going to be dramatic over time, and we'll look back at some of these early paintings and just look at in kind of surprise and awe where we've come. But I'm excited to dive into that journey and to continue to, I guess, refine my skills. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, the vlog is live if you're interested in seeing a Christmas lights tour of Lead. That went live this morning on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. You also get to see me making some caramels, and but yeah, that's live. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you can do that at Stephen E. Rice, and that allows you to see these progress photos that's usually where I post progress photos when I do a new painting. So that gives you a little kind of behind the scenes. So I again want to say thank you. I hope this week was a great one, and the coming holiday will be one filled with joy for you and excitement for the coming year and what is to be accomplished. I hope that you will use this new year as an opportunity to dive into whatever interests or changes you want to make, or projects you want to do, or experiences you want to have this year. I hope that you'll use this kind of as a kickstart for that, as many of us do. This last year for me was a lot of growth, a lot of change. But when I look back at where I was last year, less than a year, teaching, which I loved, but my life is completely different now. I never thought that I would be able to make a living and pursue my dream, quote unquote, and the things that I love. And so that's been an exciting kind of pivotal year for me. There are those years in our lives that are pivotal for one reason or another, and this was one of them. So hopefully 2022 will calm down a little bit. Hopefully this pandemic will calm down a little bit, and it will be a little more stabilizing for some of us. But who knows? Life is a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to find. So I'm rambling and must be in a philosophical mood, but it's been a joy having you this year. Join me on the journey. I appreciate each and every one of you, and those that have been here since the beginning. It means a lot to me that you continue to show up every week, and I'm excited about next year. That said, I will see you after the new year.